Okay, we're going to try something new. Now, I know, I'm going to do a quick explanation. I know I do a lot of movie reviews, or at least I used to. I still do them on the website. Probably not so much here because I'm kind of liquidating all my movies. Everything streams now, and I'm just not as into them as I once was. As you can see, I'm working on a new background, some new area. You can see all my statues there. Statues and comics, always were my first love. They never went away. I just didn't always talk about them. But more and more people are starting to talk about comics. It's kind of got me interested in them. I just had I can't talk Gem Mint Collectibles. So the other day we're talking about comics and movies, and you know, I much like him like Omnis. I think Omnis are a great thing to read, and I just picked up the brand new one. It just came out. Marvel has been reprinting Omnis, which is a beautiful thing, and I got the Spider-Man, Amazing Spiderman Volume 1 Omnibus. This is a really good book. One of the reasons I like Omnis, if you have the original issues, and there's the back spine always has the pictures of all the originals. If you have the original issues, and I have some of them, here's the problem. You don't want to open it and mess your stuff up. You don't. Those old books are worth a lot of money. Now, if you don't have them, maybe you don't have the resources to buy them. I don't believe anything is overly hard to get, especially with the internet. But you're looking at issues that are going to cost you thousands of dollars. Easy. An Omni, covers 125. You can go to organic price books. You can go to cheap graphic novels, Amazon. You can buy the books. Generally, you get them a lot cheaper. This one was out of print for a while. Marvel used to have books that would go out of print. And they still do. They have Omnis to go out of print. But then they just reprint them. So everything gets a reprint. Everybody gets a chance. Spider-Man, we all know, nerd, teenage nerd, Peter Parker, bit by the radioactive spider. Uncle Ben gets killed. It's a burglar he could have tripped. Great power comes great responsibility. Spidey goes after him. Peter Parker goes after him in Spider-Man costume. The paper thinks he's a menace. That's one of the beauties, I have to say, movie-wise, of the new Tom Holland films. You didn't have to sit through the origin because, let's be honest, everybody knows Spider-Man's origin at this point. But let's take a look at this book. I'm going to open it up. Keep in mind, it's my first time doing this. Might be not up to standards. We're going to take a look at this, and then I'll be back with the final thought. So here it is. Amazing Spider-Man Omnibus #1. This is the new print. I got the Alex Ross cover. I do like it. You get a lot with this if you're a Spider-Man collector. I mean, that's the one thing I like about the Omnis. They always show all the books that you're going to get. You're going to get Amazing Spider-Man 1 through 38. You're going to get the first 2 annuals. You, of course, get Amazing Fantasies 15, Strange Tales Annuals 2, and Fantastic Four Annual #1. I like this. Like I said, I got the Alex Ross, which is a throwback of the classic Amazing Fantasies. I like these books. This is my first Omni review, so forgive me if it's not as good as some people's. The one thing I will do, when I read an Omni, after I crack it, I always take the dust jacket off, just because I don't ever want anything to happen to it. So we'll move that. And, Marvel does a nice job. Just says Amazing Spider-Man Omni. It's got the nice Spidey on the back. I've already cracked it. Jim Mint, if you go to his YouTube channel, which if you're here, you've probably already been there. He explains how to crack the books. Of course, Amazing Fantasies 15. This is a really good one. It's the origin, Peter Parker, nice normal kid. Everybody should know the origin. There shouldn't be anything new, I'm telling you. His parents are, back in the old days, they were just dead. So he lived with, of course, Uncle Ben and Aunt May, Bookworm, Flash Thompson, who you now know as Agent Venom. He always bullied Parker, picked on him. He goes to the science exhibit. Spider gets caught in the little radioactivity gimmick, bites him, and of course he gets the powers of a spider. He does make, in these old books, of course, the web fluid. That's never changed in the comics. He starts using it to make money. Becomes a pro wrestler. Can't beat that. Who wouldn't want to be a wrestler? Goes on TV, does a little trick, shoots his spiders, blada blada. And this dude, jacking some money there. Spidey doesn't trip him, figures, that's your job, to hell with you. And, of course, the same burglar comes. Peter finds out the guy tried to rob his house, killed his Uncle Ben. So he dresses up as Spider-Man. He goes after him. That's when he realizes, he just knows it's the burglar who did it. At the end, he realizes, oh, my God, it's the burglar. great power, great responsibility, yada yada. Well, this thing was such a knockout that Stan Lee, they said, go ahead and make the comic. So, he started his own comic. He fights a lot of people in it. He introduced, of course, J.J. Jameson, newspaper editor that hates him, J.J.'s son, because J.J. always wanted him. Spider-Man is a wanted criminal. That's what he always thought. So, the early version of the Chameleon with the Fantastic Four in this one. The Chameleon, I always liked, and the artwork here, granted, it's not as amazing as the new artwork. He fights the Vulture, which is just an old man, essentially in a suit with wings. And he has a good gimmick. He sets his little camera up. He takes pictures of everything, and then he sells them to the Daily Bugle, the one that hates him. And he just, here, look at all these pictures I got of Spider-Man. And that's how he makes his money. That's his side hustle. He fights the terrible Tinkerer in this one. Some of these villains did never, and forgive me for flipping through it, but I think, like I said, most people should know. Here, of course, issue 3, Dr. Octopus. One of the reasons I always like these Omnis is if you've never got a chance, if you're a younger reader and you never got a chance to read these, here's your chance. 100, depending on where you get them, anywhere from 75 to 125 is what you're going to pay. And the beauty of it is, you're not going to be able to afford these old issues. You're not. You're simply, and you're going to have a hard time finding them. And if you do get them, why do you want to risk damaging them reading them? These Omnis give you all the opportunity to read it. For me, I have some of these original issues. I don't want to dig them out to reread them. So I just like reading the Omnis. There you see Johnny Storm. He ends up, they, of course, like any gimmick, they kind of fight and become friends and all weird. I always liked it. And I really like in the Omnis how it reprints all like the letters and all the ads and the bonus pages from the original comics. That's a nice thing. Here, issue 4, that's when he takes on the Sandman, who's become kind of an iconic villain. You get a lot of great villains in this. I'm trying to go a little quicker because I think everybody kind of knows there's Spider-Man. There, of course, is the Spider's Web. Peter never gets the girl, although he marries MJ later on. Here's the big annual. It's the Strange Tales annual. That's where Human Torch and Spider-Man, not friends in the beginning, but of course, that's an old trope. They start working together. Fantastic Four annual. Spidey was in there. Then we go back to normal, and there he's with Dr. Doom. And of course, anything with Dr. Doom, you're going to generally encounter the Fantastic Four. But Doom was never a huge Spidey villain. I mean, Spidey would take him on occasion, but he was always the main threat of the Fantastic Four. Here, issue 6, we introduced the Lizard. A lot of great things introduced in this first Omni. It was out of print for a while, like I said, but it's back. Here, the Vulture comes back. Vulture was always one of Spidey's biggest villains as I continue to kind of flip through it quick here. This one is Spider-Man tackles Spider-Man with the Human Torch. This was the tribute to the Teenager issue, taking on the Living Brain. He's going to box Flash Thompson. Peter never did use his powers to beat the shit out of Flash, which he should have. Lord knows I would have. Lots of stuff with the Human Torch. It was just likable, because Johnny Storm was kind of more of a young punk, so it was always good to put him in there. Electro, which I always dug the old Electro costume. I'm not sure why they didn't keep it in the movies. I know it doesn't look as pretty. Betty Brant is introduced in these books. Here's where he takes on the Enforcers. Never has anyone fought such merciless foes as the Enforcers. Just two-bit thugs, because, Spidey... Daredevil was always our street-level hero, so to speak. But Spidey, he was friendly neighborhood. He did it on his own, too. Here's the Feast or Famine Stan Lee article. Here's where Doc Ock comes back. Always got to have Doc Ock. Spidey had a lot of repeat villains, especially in his early books. Now you could make hundreds of movies and not double anything up. Spidey has one of the longer ones. Again, here he's unmasked by Doc Ock. This is the continuation of that story. As I skip through Mysterio. And Mysterio, I have this statue where he had the punch bowl on his head. I always thought that was a really fun one, because Mysterio, the Master of Illusions, a lot different than what the movie got the spirit of the character right. It just had him designed much different. It's got to have the punch bowl head here. One of the most famous issues is issue 14, and it always does show you the cover. This is where you get the Green Goblin, Spidey's greatest enemy. Not my personal favorite. There's Spidey's taking on the Hulk. with the Green Goblin. Here's Kraven the Hunter. This introduced him with the Chameleon. Kraven's set to have his own film. So see, these early issues, if you have them, you got a lot of money. You don't want to open them. If you don't have them, finding them is not going to be the easiest thing, but it's also going to be pretty darn expensive. Here's this is the big annual. Has the first time you saw the Sinister Six, which was Electro, the Vulture, the Sandman, Kraven, Mysterio, and Dr. Octopus. That's where he took them all on. Spidey was always fighting about villain team-ups. There's a Giant Man, or Ant-Man. Kraven, I always was a sucker for Kraven, and the giant ones were a little bit bigger. Here's all the rogue galleries. It shows you like all the villains that he's been fighting, gives you a little breakdown, what issue they first appeared in. Secret Origin of Spider-Man, another nice little, tells you all about it. Little best wishes from Stan Lee. It's got all these little Peter Parker's house. There's the guest star page, how Steve Ditko created him. One of my favorite issues is the early Daredevil, because I always loved Daredevil, and there he is in the yellow and red costume. They have to team up in it. They fight, what's his name? I always forget his name. The Hypno Man dude. See, you can tell I didn't do prep work for it. The Ringmaster, I'm sorry. Daredevil had some really, until Frank Miller took it over, Daredevil had some seriously crummy villains. Green Goblin comes back, of course, so does the Human Torch, as we go on. Like I said, I do like this old artwork a lot. Here's the Sandman returns. Yeah, Peter did not have a ton of crazed villains. Spidey Strikes Back, the Enforcers and the Sandman are in here. Luckily, the Human Torch gonna help him out. This is just a really fun book, especially if you're, here's the Scorpion, which I always dug. This is one of his first appearances. I like how all the pictures of him as old Webhead. Here he is taking on the Beetle with the Human Torch. Going back and looking at this, I forgot just how much that damn Human Torch, nothing against him, was in all these books. I mean, tons of them. This is one I always like because when he had the spider, he didn't have the bat signal. He had like the Spidey signal. That's where he takes on the Masters of Menace, the Crafty Clown, the Great Gambinos, the Cannonball, Princess Python, and the Return of the Ringmaster. Basically a gang of circus people. There's the Green Goblin is back again. Goblin was, of course, the most famous. This is the one where he thinks he's going crazy. It's issue 24. Don't really, if you want to read it, it's pretty good. He thinks he's fighting all of his old villains. Some of this, I'm very anxious to sit down and do a reread of this, but I just got it in the mail. This is when JJ captures him. Well, sort of. He's got those Spider Slayer things, because you think JJ would never want to capture him because, I mean, my God, he sells in paper. The Crime Master with the Green Goblin, of course. Once again, we have Betty Brant. MJ is still not introduced. This is where Goblin captures Spidey. They're going to try to, say who he is. But, of course, Spidey always gets away. The Molten Man, I know I have this original issue because I always remember the pop art. And because it is an old issue that is very hard to keep looking good because it's, completely black. Sorry, I had to move that there. Like I said, this is my first Omni review. Hope I'm doing it okay. Here is Doctor Strange is in this one. This is the king size annual. This is his second annual. Doctor Strange always been good. Here we go. Scorpion's back again. As I continue to flip, this is a big book, so going by page would be a while. The Claws of the Cat. I will not lie to you. I remember the cat. Knockoff of the Prowler, or is the Prowler a knockoff of the cat? Depends how you say it. Depends how you look at it. This Be My Destiny. This is a new era of Spider-Man begins, which it didn't really turn into anything too new. Peter, for all the people that complain in the movies that he's not in high school enough, he's not exactly in high school in a ton of the comics. He is in these early ones. Here's Aunt May's hurt, and he's fighting more low-rent criminals. Like I said, he did fight a lot of low-rent criminals. The final chapter, because some of these old books would end to be continued, but, you can't stop Spider-Man. He's got to make his way out. That's one of the classic covers that I just passed. It's also a what-if story, I do believe, with Aunt May. Kraven the Hunter's back in issue 34. Always liked Kraven. I'm very anxious for the movie. If Scott Hall was still alive, I thought he would have been a great Kraven. The Molten Man Comes back a lot. You don't see much of him in recent years. This is going to be a new villain, Spidey, as you've never seen him. When falls the meteor. You know, there's a lot of odd characters. They tried a lot, but you know, you couldn't keep bringing the same 5 people back in every book. It wasn't going to work. And some of the characters that Spidey fought were really hokey. This is just the guy named Joe Spider-Man issue. I won't lie to you, I don't truly remember this one. It's not one of the most famous issues out there. You know, it's even got the reprints of the little coupons that you can cut out and everything. Does whatever. Here's the whole lexicon. You know, quite a bit of stuff. You can get all the extras. Here's the old black and white photos. A lot of sketch work of the books. Just an amazing, amazing book. If you're interested, pictures of the covers, more masterwork art, just a lot. Let me seal this up. We'll get you a couple of quick final thoughts. Great book. If you're a young cat and you've never read any of this stuff, here's your chance. This is the brand new printing. It came out on July 19th, yesterday. Mine just came in the mail yesterday. Here's your chance. If you haven't read them in a while, you don't want to bust out your originals, you want to stroll down memory lane, Omnis are the way to go. This is classic Spider-Man. Like I say, everybody knows this story, but it's just so much fun to see. It's a great book. I highly recommend you pick it up. Marvel Omnis go out of print, but they go back into print. Definitely check it out. Definitely want to encourage you to give a like, to subscribe, and, you know, we'll keep doing more of these if you guys keep wanting to see them.